All right, so I just got done watching everybody on game day pick Texas to beat Georgia. For Georgia, there should be no bigger motivation this week than to have everybody picking against you. I mean, uh, in my opinion, after watching the games that I've watched this season from Georgia, I feel like we kind of are what we are. But if Georgia is something more than that, and they're a great team that's just kind of been sleepwalking through the first half of their season, there should be no bigger wake up call than today. You've got everybody picking against you. You've got your own fans picking against you. You've got former players picking against you. I mean, everybody's doubting right now that you can go into Texas and win this game. So as an athlete, there's no bigger challenge. There's nothing that should fire you up more than everybody, literally everybody, picking against you on national television. That's something that you should take personal, and it's something that should make you rise up and want to have a great performance tonight against a really good Texas team. Just in my opinion, at this point in the season, like what I've seen from Georgia I mean, the word that I use to describe this season so far is inconsistent. We played some good football at times. We played some really horrible, hard to watch football at times. We look really good on offense at times. Sometimes we can hit explosives. Other times we can't even hit a wide receiver. Can't catch the ball when it does hit us in the hand. Sometimes we can block and run the ball when we absolutely have to. And other times we've got Branson Robinson getting tackled in the backfield for no gain at all, and running backs not hitting the holes. And we just look god awful on offense. And that has really rubbed a lot of the fans the wrong way. This Georgia team this season absolutely has not lived up to or played up to the standard that Kirby Smart has set at the University of Georgia. I mean, just in my opinion, really in a lot of the fans' opinions, this team doesn't play as hard or hustle like the 2017 team, the 2018 team, the 2021 team. Not even as much as last year's team. Like, this team just doesn't look like they want it. As much as some of our really good teams in years past. We're not as talented. We don't execute it as high of a clip. And we've yet to play our best football. I mean, we haven't played a four-quarter football game yet. So going into a few reasons why Georgia can win this game, and don't get me wrong, Georgia can go in there and win this game. Georgia has still got one of the most talented rosters in the country, one of the best coaching staffs in the country. In my opinion, the best head coach in the country. Now, he's going to have a lot to prove tonight and a lot to say about that tonight. You can't lose to Steve Sarkisian if you're Kirby Smart. You already had a bad loss. I don't care that you came back. You were down 28-0 on the road to a first-year coach at Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. You already looked bad enough doing that. You can't go in here and get blown out by Steve Sarkisian. If you're Kirby Smart, you got to go in here and find a way to win this football game. Have your team fired up and ready to play from the very first snap. We can't have a slow start today. So Kirby Smart has got to win this game if he wants to be called the best coach in college football. And if Georgia fans want to call him that, you can't lose to Kalen DeBoer and Steve Sarkisian in the same season and have two losses halfway through the season. I'm sorry, the best coach in football can't have that. But Georgia can go in here and win this game. I don't think a whole lot of people would be surprised to see Georgia win. They just got to go out there and execute and play a four-quarter football game. We cannot have the 4 turnovers this time on the road. Our offense has got to execute and stay on track. We cannot have penalties and drop passes. If we can execute and stay ahead of down and distance and have manageable third downs, we have got the team, the players, the playmakers, and the quarterback that, depending on what the offensive line can do in pass protection, that can make plays. I do think we have some talented wide receivers. Dylan Bell is a really good playmaker with the football in his hands. Really, we should be using him at running back more, in my opinion. Arian Smith, he's a 20-yard catch receiver when he catches the ball. He's just got to catch the ball. If he catches that pass in the Alabama game at the beginning of the game, it was like a 55-yard pass down on our 15-yard line, we would have been inside the red zone. He's got to catch the ball when it hits him in the hands. Dominic Lovett was a 1,000-yard receiver at Missouri. He's a talented wide receiver. So we've got guys. Nate Frazier looks like a dynamic running back. We don't give him the football. So if we can just execute and stay on track as an offense, I feel like we're going to get yards and we can get points against this Texas team. Now, they've got a really talented defense. I expect them to make some plays and force some turnovers. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think that the environment that we're going to face tonight is good. I mean, it can't be any worse or any louder than what we faced on the road at Tuscaloosa. I was there personally for that game. That was a very fired up crowd. That was also a night game. That was the loudest, I mean, up there with the loudest I've ever heard at any stadium on the road at Tuscaloosa. And it died down a little bit at times, but at times it was so loud that I even had a headache. I couldn't think. I don't know how the team executed. So the team did perform well under those circumstances in the second half and in the Alabama game. So Georgia has been tested. Georgia has been in games where they've had to come back. Georgia has been on the road at night for a 7:30 kick at Kentucky, at Bryant-Denny, now at Texas. I'm sure in a few weeks when we go on the road to Ole Miss, I'm sure game day will be there for that one, and it'll be a 7:30 kick on ABC. So I'm sitting here wondering when is Georgia going to get our home game? In Sanford Stadium with a 7:30 kick with a big time opponent with game day there. I mean, we never have any night games. It's unbelievable. So Georgia just got to go out here and play a complete football game. On defense, we can't have the missed tackles. You can't give up outside contain like you have in games past. The runs to the outside of our defense, I mean, you've got to find a way to take that away against this Texas team. You got to take away either the pass or the run. And I would take away the run and keep Ewers back there in the pocket and try and let Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, and Ingram Dawkins get home. Those guys right there that I just named have got to play their best game they've ever played at Georgia. Michael Williams has finally got to live up to the hype that he has always gotten since his freshman season in the Oregon game. He's got to live up to that hype finally today and earn that and solidify that he is the premier pass rusher on this Georgia team, because he hasn't done anything of note this season. He had 4.5 sacks his freshman year. He had 4.5 sacks last year. But his statistics got worse last year than they were his freshman year, and they're even worse this year. I understand that he's been injured, but I'm just saying he hasn't done anything of note to put him up there with one of the premier pass rushers in Georgia history. He's not on the level of a Lorenzo Carter, not even a Davin Bellamy, not a Leonard Floyd. He's nowhere near any of those guys. So if he wants to be a first-round pick, tonight would be a great night to earn that. Jalen Walker's had a pretty good season. We need him to have at least one. I'd like him to have 2 sacks tonight. And then 93, Ingram Dawkins has got to have a great game tonight. Dalen Everett and Julian Humphreys cannot get beat for any 20-plus yard passes tonight. The secondary's got to play well. But that kind of goes together, that defensive line and that secondary. We've got to get pressure on Ewers tonight. The one thing that I can say that's a benefit to Georgia is Ewers doesn't have the same skill set that Jalen Milroe has. So Georgia's not going to have to worry about Ewers breaking up, for a 40-yard run or getting outside of the defense. He's just not as mobile as Milroe. Now, he can make some play. He's kind of similar to Carson Beck. He can make some plays with his feet and pick up a first down on 3rd and 7 if everybody turns their back to him in coverage. Now, he's more than capable of going and getting that first down, but he is not literally going to kill your defense with his legs like we had to worry about on the road at Alabama with Jalen Milroe. So, again, I don't like being in this position where everybody's picking against Georgia, and even our own fans and even myself is picking against Georgia. This should fire the team up. The team should go out there, lose, get a fast start, and play their best football game of the season. You're being called out by literally the entire country and your own fan base. And I want Georgia to win the game. I mean, there's no bigger Georgia fan than me. I mean, I've been excited for this game, all off season and even this season, and even going into the game. I'm not picking Georgia to win this game, but I'm going to be cheering for them the entire time, and I hope they go out here and put their best foot forward and execute, and just don't hurt yourselves in this game. And if we could just go out here and look like the aggressor, look like the attacker, look like the apex predator, like you're going out there to inflict your will on this Texas team. Like Georgia right now has got their backs against the wall. And when you're an athlete or you're a team, that's not necessarily a bad place to be when it's a must-win game. Like, you've got to have this one. If you lose this game, you've got 2 losses halfway through the season, and you still got to go on the road to Ole Miss, and you got to play Tennessee at home and Georgia Tech to end the season. You're definitely not going to the SEC championship game or doing anything of note when it comes to that. And you'll be lucky to make the playoffs based off what the playoff committee has done in the past. You won't be in the playoffs because no team has been kept out of the playoffs more by the playoff committee than the Georgia Bulldogs. We've been the first team out more than any other team in the country. And I think that we had a team that was plenty good enough to be in multiple times. But definitely that 2018 team was a top 4 team that wasn't allowed in. So Georgia's it's must win. You got to go out there and you got to get it done. And I think that you can do it. I'm hoping that they do it. I'm not picking you to do it though. And the reason is, like, just based off what I've watched this season, like at this point we are what we are. Like we don't ever play 4 quarters of football. We've got self-inflicted mistakes, penalties, missing blocks, dropping balls, Carson Beck throwing it behind guys, Carson Beck throwing it right to the other team. It's just not the standard of Georgia football that we've come to expect. And I've watched that in every single game, from the Clemson game onwards to the Kentucky game and into the Alabama game, onto the Auburn game, every single game. There's just parts of the game that are inconsistent, god-awful, hard to watch football. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball. At times we have 0 pass rush at all. Literally none. Quarterback has all day to sit back there and throw the ball. And it's hard for our secondary to cover for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seconds. And our secondary is just not as good. Dalen Everett, Julian Humphreys are just not as good as the cornerbacks that we've had in the past. Tyke Smith went on to the NFL. Our star position is not as good. Dan Jackson is not as good as Javon Bullard was. We're just not as talented as a football team in years past. We've given up some big plays, some explosives on defense. That's not characteristic. Our tackling does not look as good. And on the other side of the ball, or on the other hand, Texas, you can say all that you want that they haven't played everybody, but statistically, they are far better than Georgia in every single category of note that matters. They did go on the road and they beat Michigan at Michigan soundly. That game was never in doubt. So to say that Michigan is a nobody, or they last year's national title team, absolutely not. But that Michigan team still has talent, was still playing at home. Texas went in there and manhandled that team. The Texas games that I have watched this season, at times, their offense looks like they are playing on air at practice. They just do whatever they want. We can't play off coverage in this game against this Texas team with these wide receivers. You play 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 yards off against this Texas team, it's going to be a total blowout. A total blowout. You've got to press on these guys today. You got to mix up the scheme, zone and man, but you cannot play off 7 yards off the ball against these Texas wide receivers. I'll be looking for that right away. Right away, I'll be looking for that. But Texas has done everything that they're supposed to do. They've beaten they've beaten everybody that they've played. They've looked good doing it. They played consistent football. To say that they have no weakness, we'll have to see what Kirby Smart can come up with. But they look a lot better than us. They look like we did in the past. Like they've done everything they're supposed to do. They've handled who they're supposed to handle. And they've looked good doing it. They've got talent all over the field just like we do. The difference is their talent is playing up to potential and beyond potential. And our team, the Georgia team, I'm still looking around at this team saying, who are our leaders? Like, where's the leadership at? Where are the guys that are getting this team fired up and ready to go? Like, who is going to step up and say, guys, we've been sleepwalking through the first half of this season. It's time to wake up and go play some big-time football. The reason that we all came here to the University of Georgia is for moments like this, for games like the one that we're going to play in tonight, and we need to go out here and dominate for 4 quarters and win your one-on-one matchups. Because that's one thing that Georgia has not done this year. We haven't won our one-on-ones. And Texas has been winning their one-on-ones. So I just don't know. I mean, other than you being a Georgia fan and you loving them so much that you just love them so much and hope they win so much that influences your pick. I used to be guilty and do that exact same thing. I would do it time and time again. And then I just had to start thinking in my mind, like, okay, how can I pick in an unbiased way? And I just imagine to myself when I pick these games or when I think about these games, I'm like, all right, man, if you had to bet your entire bank account on whether or not Georgia was going to win this game, how would you pick this game? And that kind of makes me think of it in a different way because I want Georgia to win the game. I love Georgia. So much of my year goes towards thinking about college football and Georgia's season and who they're going to play. Like even in the off season, it's almost all I think about outside of work is Georgia football. But when you think of it in an objective way, like, okay, if I had to bet everything that I had on this game, how would I pick this game? And just what I've seen from Georgia this year is a lot of inconsistent football. And I've seen the opposite from Texas. I've seen consistent football. They've handled who they're supposed to handle. That they've beaten everybody they played soundly. So Texas, I'm picking Texas to win the game. And I'll just go ahead and say it. I got Texas winning 41-31, and I think 7 of that 31 from Georgia comes late. I hope that it's different. I hope that I'm wrong. I would love to see Georgia come out here and put their best foot forward and like really take the fight to Texas. Like for one time this season, if we could just come out and look aggressive and hit our shots early, because we did that in the Alabama game. We came out aggressive and took shots and we missed. We dropped the ball. So if we could come out in this game and from the jump, from the word go, just take it to these boys and get up on them and get our confidence, Georgia can go in there and do it. But nothing that Georgia has showed me in any of their games this season makes me think that they're going to go out here, make no mistakes, have no turnovers, and play 4 quarters of complete football. Again, I hope that I'm wrong. But I think Texas is going to execute a little bit better on offense. I think they're going to get more stops on defense, obviously, and have some turnovers. We've only got 3 interceptions this season so far. So I don't think we're causing enough turnovers. I think the turnovers will be the difference in the game. And I think Texas offense operates a little more efficiently than Georgia's. And if we get behind in this game, 2 scores, it's over. And I just haven't seen anything from the Georgia offense that makes me think that we can consistently score touchdowns for 4 quarters. I would love to be wrong. And then on the Georgia defense, like we already talked about, like letting runs get on the outside of your defense for big yards, that's a concern for me. Our DBs getting lost in coverage, not turning their head to look for the football is a big concern for me. The missed tackles this season has been atrocious and hard to watch. And again, I really hope that I'm wrong. I hope Georgia can go out there and find a way to win this game. I do think this is a must-win game. I've thought that every game this season is a must-win game, just for pride and respect. Like I was really hoping this season that with Nick Saban gone, that Kirby Smart and the Dogs could take a step forward and exert their dominance on the SEC and take over as that premier program in the SEC. And just put a stamp on, okay, we're the best program in college football. We're the best program in the SEC now that Nick Saban's gone. And if you want to do anything noteworthy in the SEC, you've got to go through us. And unfortunately, this year's Georgia team has taken a significant step back from even what they were last year. Talent-wise, coaching-wise, fundamentals-wise, just in every area. And I hate to be negative because I've listened to enough negativity about our team this week. I'm just kind of trying to tell you like the reality of the situation. This team is just not as good. We're just not as good anywhere. So anyways, if Georgia does lose this game today, hopefully that is a wake-up call to the coaches, to the fans, to the program as a whole that, hey, we've got to go out and recruit better players. Like Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann have not changed. They can still coach really good football. In my opinion, we just don't have the dominance of the caliber of player that we've had in the past on championships teams, and that's really been the story of the season. It's just we've taken a step back at so many positions, and it's a level playing field now. So Georgia's got to recruit better. So if we do drop this game, like it's time to get to work on recruiting. You've got to sign a top class and develop those guys and get some better football players in here, period. So anyways, really looking forward to the game. I hope that I'm wrong. I think that Georgia that they are capable of doing it, but I don't think they will. I think this Texas team is for real. I think they beat us by 10. I think they get into the 40s. I think we just barely get into the 30s. That's just what I've seen from these two teams so far this season. If I'm wrong, I will come back on here and say, hey, I was totally wrong about the game. I'm a dumbass. Georgia did it and looked great, and I'll be so happy. Nothing will make me happier than to be wrong about the pick. I'd love if this was reversed and Georgia won 41-31 or even more. But just nothing they've showed me this season makes me think that they're going to do that. So anyways, Kirby Smart and the Dogs, everybody's picking against them, even their own fans, even former players. So how they're going to respond, I can't wait to see, can't wait to watch this game. I hope Georgia can come out and with their backs against the wall in a must-win situation with the world picking against you. I hope you can find a way to wake up in the middle of this season, come out and execute and play your best football game just with the amount of disrespect that people have shown this Georgia team. And if you have been sleepwalking through the first half of this season, it's time to wake up and really get it going and start playing your best football from this point forward and make something happen this year. So anyways, I will talk to you guys after the game, hopefully talking about a Georgia win. But unfortunately, I got Texas 41-31 beating the Dogs. Y'all have a good Saturday.